Understanding game theory. So, we as game designers view game theory as the study of mathematical models between rational decision makers. Sounds a bit complex, but actually, if you break it down, it's just understanding social situations among different players and then deciding on the decisions that they're going to make. These decisions can be based on different areas that they're in. So say you're working with a group of people, you could make a different decision than if you were going to be working by yourself. Designing a game is much similar to that. Working on a game by yourself, you can only make decisions based on one opinion, one thought process that you have. When working in a group, you have different mindsets, different thought processes that are going on. Therefore, you can have different storylines that can branch off into other storylines and you go on from there. An example of this would be The Prisoner's Dilemma, which is, I'm pretty sure the idea was to take two people, take two people, place them in a prison, and you're going to, you would watch how their opinions change when they are able to interact with each other or not interact with each other. Say if prisoner A confesses and prisoner B confesses, they both get 5 years. But if prisoner A confesses without interacting with prisoner B and prisoner B remains silent, then prisoner A goes and prisoner B does 20 years. This explanation isn't great, but you have to you should view The Prisoner's Dilemma as your opinion can drastically change based on the people you interact with, getting to know them, getting to understand them, getting a feel of what that person is. So say you were going to prison, say you were in a court case with someone and you could go to prison for a very long period of time, and you interact with the person that you committed the crime with. Say you go to like them, you get to understand them, you get to feel where they're coming from. Your opinion on what you would do in that situation would drastically change to as if you never met them before until you committed that crime on that day. So from that conclusion, any outcome can change based on the people you have around you and the people that you are working with. Which does apply to games design and games theory as working with others. The entire storyline of a game can change depending on the people that you're working with. Next we have ludology. Well, game ludology. Ludology. The study of games is the act of playing them and understanding the players and culture surrounding them. Pretty much, you create a game or you play someone else's game, and then you have to understand the thought processes that they had behind them, which is where various cultural studies comes into play. Games design is a great example of this. So games design is a great example of this. You're going to use this as your example of taking the past and relating them to the ideas of the present in order to make a game. Say like Assassin's Creed Valhalla. That game was produced with the idea of taking the Viking era and making a game out of it based on previous games. Assassin's Creed, the entire Assassin's Creed saga covers multiple eras, going into the past, understanding the different events that went through there, making a couple changes, say that because you're an assassin, so not all of it's going to follow through exactly. And that's where the our philosophical or anthropological art of study comes into play. So we are going to take Peter Bruegel's. Take this image here, Peter Bruegel's artwork. You're going to take that as an example to understand the different forms of play that occurred throughout history and comparing them to modern day play. In this image, you can see, if you take a good look in this image, you could see that all around it there are multiple people playing different games, from adults to children. Say you have a sandpit over here, you have a river here that people would probably end up playing in. There's various forms of tag. No idea what that is, not gonna question what that is. We have piggyback rides, old forms of hula hoops. No idea what they made that out of, but old forms of hula hoop. You have a mini playground over here, make believe. You have, you have your own variation of what that looks like, hopscotch or something similar to it. And then you have other forms of play. Blindsman's Bluff is occurring somewhere up here. And then in this image, stilts at a very high level. No idea how safe this is, not gonna question how safe that is, but at the time this was probably very enjoyable. Simple tools, 3 pieces of wood put together, and you can do whatever you want with it whilst taking the child's imagination and working with that. And then the overall conclusion from Peter Bruegel's artwork was that no matter there being a language barrier amongst the children, they always found a way to have fun and to play, because they know that games are used as a social tool. And then at the end of the day, they all just want to have fun. They all just want to play a game. Making play neo-Ottonus, as it's basically trained into a lifestyle. It's basically trained into the child's mindset that play should occur whenever possible. Whenever they're not in a school, a child is going to play. That is the main main viewpoint I have from this. So the different forms of play, you have attunement play, body play, object play, social play, imaginative or pretend play. So attunement play's base is establishing a connection between a newborn and a mother. So when the child is just born, the child will find ways. After a while, the child will find ways to be able to bond with their mother. It's not always going to be obvious how they do that, but it's a child. They will figure out ways to do that, and a mother will try their best. Any parents will try their best in order to bond with their child. Then you have body play, which is where the infant explores the ways in which his or her body works and interacts with the world. I'm pretty sure every parent has gone through this, where the child just picks up any random thing and tries to play with it, even though you know it's not a good idea for them to play with it. They'll let their imagination run free and then try to do something with it, such as jumping off of the sofa, climbing onto things that aren't safe, walking into things to see what it does to them, kicking something as if it's a football. Don't know what's going through a child's mind, but they are a child, so I'll give that to them. Then you have object play, playing with toys, banging pots and pans, handling physical things in ways that use curiosity. Literally just walk into a kitchen, pick up any random thing, and a child will figure out what to do with it. Not the intended use of that item, but they'll find a way to have fun with it. Then we have social play, which involves other activities such as tumbling, making faces, and building connections with other children. This is why playgrounds were designed. Take your child to a playground, they will either go and have fun by themselves, or come back with about 6 friends. And you won't know who these kids are, but you'll somehow end up interacting with their parents for this reason. Your child will go and make friends for you. But your child will find ways to interact with children in the most random ways possible. Imaginative play comes into play here, where the child invents scenarios from just their mind and acts within them as a form of play. Take your child to a playground, put them on a pirate ship, and the majority of the children on there will come up with a scenario that works. They'll create their own rule sets. They'll find their own equipment to use. Like take a stick, turn it into a sword. Take anything lying on the ground, that's a shield. Make hats, imaginative hats. Random rule sets. Random everything, but they will find a way to make it work. And then we move on to the next individual, John Huizinga. He was the first person to try and figure out what play actually is. And on his vast little quest to figure all of this out, he concluded that play is free, so you can do whatever you want with it. No one can tell you how you should have fun, when in the end, fun is what you judge it to be, not what others judge it to be. It's not supposed to be ordinary. It's not supposed to relate to real life. You can make it relate to real life, but you don't have to make it relate to real life. Play is distinct from ordinary life, both as to locality and duration. Locality being the location of where you play. You could be in your living room and turn that into a pirate ship. Give a child a cardboard box. That is a rocket ship, a bedroom, a den, a car, a plane. If it exists, the child can turn it into that. And they can play for very long periods of time until they become tired or hungry. Then they will stop and then go back into it when they're feeling like they can again. Play creates order, where play demands order absolute and supreme. A child would try their very best to do whatever they wanted without there being rule sets. That is their form of order, while ours would be a direct route, or you follow certain rule sets. These are what you have to do within a game, such as in video games. Video games have their own rule sets. You have to follow these rules whilst playing a game. Follow these button presses, these commands in order to play the game, where children can just change the commands at any time, change the controls at any time, change whatever they want at any time. Example of this would be like a game called Dreams. You create whatever you want. Minecraft, create whatever you want. Games where you're able to create whatever you want makes play similar to that of how a child views play. And then we go on to play being connected with no material interest and no profit, as you're there to have fun. You're not there to gain anything from it. There's no intrinsic motivation. There's no extrinsic motivation. The intrinsic motivation is you get to have fun. You get to do whatever you want and no one can tell you otherwise. Playgrounds, best place for that. Ball pits. Indoor activity centres. Okay, there are partial rule sets for those, but indoor activity centres where you have ball pits, different things that you can pick up. You can swimming pools, you can have fun in any way possible, and you're given everything you want or need in order to have fun there. Then we go on to what I would view a playground to look like. And all you have to do is press that black button with the white print in it. Press the button, download the game, give it a go. It's not a full game, but you get to just walk around my creation of a playground where I incorporate the ideals of children, what they would want to have in a playground. To an extent, it was limited to size of a map that I was going to make. And then we also have the adults area, followed by the sports area. The one sports area where pretty sure everyone would find themselves at the end of the day. Sunday league soccer, Wednesday night football, Friday night football, or Friday night drinking, whichever you want. Pub, playground, take your kids to the playground, you go get a drink, you go and chill and play football, and then at the end of it, you go and do what you want. And that right there would be my ideal playground and understanding game theory as a whole.